Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 158. 4 quarter-finals down, 2 comfortable wins, 1 hard-fought victory, and the Wales against France game. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. We had a hell of a weekend last weekend. We're going to talk all about that. We've got another massive weekend coming up this weekend. And of course, for us, we've got a huge weekend the one after, hopefully. I'm joined by Dan to discuss all things England rugby and this World Cup. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Semi-final week. I love semi-final week.
We haven't seen it for a while.
We haven't seen it for ages. We saw it in football last year, but we haven't seen it in rugby since 2007. So, quick question before we go on to anything else. Is the semi-final, and not from our point of view, because we know what we believe and we're sure will happen, but from the general rugby public, from the RFU point of view, is the semi-final good enough for England?
What's good enough? I mean, the bottom line is they're playing the World Cup favourites.
Yeah.
So I think performance is key. The last time we played New Zealand, it was 18-19.
It was a hell of a game.
But for a disallowed try, which I still debate, England would have won that game. So is it good from an RFU point of view? I mean, I don't think you can turn around to Eddie Jones and say you got England to a semi-final. They lost, hopefully narrowly if it came to it, to New Zealand, who went on to win the World Cup. Therefore, you failed. But I think England need to be going into this, looking at, nothing is good enough unless we make the final.
I agree. But anyway, let's dismiss those thoughts for now and hope we never have to have that conversation.
Exactly. We won't, Dan. We're going through. We're doing this. We've talked about it for 2.5 years. Things have not changed. We need to continue to have that confidence. It's what's got us this far.
Agreed.
So let's actually, before we get into anything, we have had a couple of reviews. We've also had an email from Caroline Bruin who messaged us saying that she messaged us a few weeks back saying that having heard about our discussions about needing a bit of diversity, she wanted to get in touch, and obviously she promised,
I remember. Yeah,
she promised to have a beer for us in Japan, and she sent us a nice photo of her and her, I'm guessing, other half. I think actually, did she say she was going there with a friend? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But yeah, them all dressed up in their England rugby garb, having a few beers out in Japan. I'm very jealous. But appreciate you thinking of us and sending through that picture, Caroline. And hopefully you're tuning in.
Thank you very much.
To hear what we have to say, so appreciate that. But yes, reviews. We've had 2. We've had a couple of reviews, a couple of good ones. First up, we have our old friend Wade. He's back.
Hello.
He's not right in front of me.
Okay.
He says, "Gentlemen, aloha from the old Alenians RFC. Things are going swimmingly." Oh no, this is an old one.
Yes,
that is an old one. He has emailed us again, and I'm going to I'll find it in a moment. But let's move on from that one because that's clearly not what we were looking for. Maybe he got rid of it. We've got from Mesh 8374. Also, hang on. I'm going to do this whole bit again because I've not refreshed the page, so I'm reading all the old ones.
Maybe do it after the Caroline one, or do you want to just
I will do. I'll do it after the Caroline one.
Okay, cool.
Just say something like, moving on. We got some reviews. Hang on. It's annoying. I thought it auto-refreshed. Here we go. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. We have some reviews. A couple of good ones. One not so good one. We'll start with that one. Let's get it out of the way, shall we? This is from Paulie, or Paul Y. You've got to be Welsh. He says, "If you like a show with absolutely no preparation or direction, this is for you." He gives us a very generous 1 star. So, cheers for that, Paulie.
It's semi-final week. I don't know, but I've got the energy to bother All right, fair enough. Save it.
Well,
Cheers,
exactly,
Polly.
exactly.
I'm glad you got to have your say. That's what this is about.
And obviously, you're not listening anymore, are you? Because you gave us one
Yeah,
star.
exactly.
Why would you tune in again? Anywho,
No.
It's, in fairness, no preparation or direction is probably fair. I mean, how much preparation and direction goes into a phone call to one of your mates to chat about rugby?
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is.
Exactly. I find one of the things I said, not going to mention it, but doing it. But I remember our original, not abusers, wrong word, our original critic, Wade. Do you know what? At least he said why he didn't like it. He went into detail. He went what he wanted.
And Dan, more importantly, speaking of Wade, he's also got back in touch. The 5 stars remain. He says, "Gentlemen, aloha from the old Alenians RFC. A good win, I can't argue with that. The All Blacks looked shabby, so obviously England nailed on to beat them next Saturday."
Yeah.
I'm guessing
so,
he hasn't finished yet. He goes on.
All right,
He says, "In a moment of rare wisdom, you admitted Slade looked rusty and mistake-ridden. Correct. Daly looked a fish out of water. A really, really poor game. Jones must change a winning team. Forward to fly half with Farrell and Manu outside. Joe or the Cornish god on the wing with May and the other Watson at fullback. Play form guys. Get the massive ball carriers. Joe Cockensieger and Manu playing hard lines off either shoulder of the silky passer George Ford next Saturday. Through the guts of New Zealand, it's a massive step up versus the All Blacks next Saturday. New game plan needed, and don't tell me we can bully and muscle New Zealand into submission. Everyone always thinks they can, but never do. They played at twice the pace of England versus Australia. We have a problem, but we have a chance. The All Blacks were on another planet. Fingers crossed. Keep it up. Best, WD."
So I was just obviously mentioning Wade and saying at least he had the nerve to, and once again he's put relevant content in his thing.
Before we get, obviously you don't get to read these. You hear me read them out. But Wade, please, full stops. It's really difficult to read out your reviews when I don't know where the sentence starts and finishes. As someone has previously mentioned, there's no preparation here. We go straight in with the reviews. So,
come on, Wade. You don't make Paulie happy. Right. So, do I agree with what Wade says? It's hard to disagree with some of it. I thought Daly did have a shocker. I disagree that I'd drop him though. I still think Daly's world class. I think Daly has beaten the All Blacks with the Lions. And I think you want Daly on the pitch. I think this is going to be a very, very close game. And I think you might have a chance from a kick from the halfway line or just in our own half. And you want a rocket boot on the pitch. But he was poor. I agree you're not going to bully the All Blacks. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
I'm not convinced. I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly would never just describe what I expect England to do against the All Blacks. I would never use the word bully. I certainly don't think that England are a team that are going to, bring a sort of physicality to a game against New Zealand that they're not used to or anything. I don't think for a second that that's what England bring to this game. I think what England do is they match the physicality of the All Blacks, and actually they match a lot of the sort of the pace out wide as well. And I think that's the key here is that actually there aren't that many teams that can match the All Blacks, and if you can match them, then you can create opportunities. And I think the advantage England perhaps has here is that they're used to a more attritional. So more attritional requirements in big games, whereas New Zealand are used to running away with games. Expectation is going to be pretty high for them, and if it does turn into an arm wrestle, then I think that's a game that probably suits England more. But I certainly don't think England have got are even thinking for 1 second that the game plan is to go and try and bully the All Blacks.
No, I don't think so. I think Wade made some good points. Like the All Blacks was pace they played with, and like how quickly they were able to break down just everywhere. That was so impressive, and it was played at different. England didn't play at that pace, but that's because England didn't need to play at that pace.
Well, more importantly, England controlled the pace. They dictated the pace of the game, and that's something that they will try and do against the All Blacks. That's something they'll try and do against any team. You don't want a team. You want to play the game at your pace, not at the opposition's pace. and naturally the All Blacks will be looking to do the same thing in reverse. But I think we talked, or you mentioned, I think in the last episode when we were looking, or a couple of episodes ago when we were looking towards the various semi-finals. Yeah. And we were talking about New Zealand and Ireland, and you were saying, if Ireland can bring the defensive game that they had, when they beat New Zealand both times, then New Zealand, could find themselves in trouble. Now, obviously, 46-14 suggests that isn't the case. They weren't
in that much trouble,
But I think Ireland didn't bring that defensive game.
Ireland was shit.
They were poor. They'd
be shit all year.
They weren't aggressive in defence, and when you're not aggressive in defence, you give teams like New Zealand the space and the time, more importantly, to play at pace. So the key for me at least is that England control the pace by being aggressive in defence. And that doesn't mean to say that only they can do that, but that's what they can only focus on what they can do. And I think if they can stop New Zealand getting quick ball and stop New Zealand controlling that pace and playing at the speed they did against Ireland, then it becomes a very different game. And that's what England need to do.
Cool.
But we're not talking about that game. That's all about Thursday, Dan. We're going to talk about what did happen. And we'll have a quick look at the other semi-final that's coming up. So let's start where it all began. The first game, England against Australia, obviously the biggie. Obviously we've covered a lot of it. We did our live pod, but let's just reflect back. 40 points to 16 against an Australian side that on paper played pretty well.
We went over this briefly after the match. Australia, for me, I thought they didn't have a bad outing. I thought we were brilliant. I've watched the match again. I actually think we had some rusty parts. We had some poor performances, stuff we want to cut out, against the All Blacks. But I thought we were brilliant, and I just thought we were too good.
There it is.
It's hard to go into more. Australia had some threats, but we didn't allow that to develop as much as they could have. Karevi was troublesome to us, but he could have been so much more. I think we played the right game. I think we had the right game plan defensively and offensively. And well done, boys. That was a hell of a performance.
And a massive win when you look at those two opening games: 40 points to 16, England against Australia; 46 points to 14, New Zealand against Ireland. Is it fairly safe to say is the wrong word, but it's looking like that side of the table is the side that wins this World Cup, right? I mean, whoever wins England against New Zealand goes on to to lift the trophy, right?
You certainly got to think they're favourites. South Africa are a good team, but you certainly think. You never know because matches can turn to nothing. This England-New Zealand match, to me, is the way both teams are playing, the rugby they're playing, the spectacle of it. This could potentially be one of the best World Cup matches ever. Like the match-up, everything. It's such a big game. And I think whoever wins this goes into the final on a massive high with a huge amount of confidence. So, I agree with you. Whoever wins this one is certainly, I believe, will win the World Cup. So, therefore, I believe England will win the World Cup, surprisingly.
There we go. So, one of the things I put out on a tweet, which I'll ask you the same question, is who was better, Australia or Ireland?
Australia, I thought.
By a mile, I thought.
Yeah.
And yet England's still managed to put 40 points on Australia, where New Zealand, apparently with all this pace and power and just otherworldliness, only managed 6 more points on Ireland.
Yeah, you gotta look at it. You gotta look at. It's so hard to tell when teams have been dominated. New Zealand had won that game fairly quickly. Whereas England hadn't definitely beat the Australians until a lot later in the game. It's two different games.
Of course, it's two different games. But for anyone that's out there, kind of starting to hyperventilate at the thought of playing New Zealand and what could be or what couldn't be, let's take a little bit of hope from the fact that this team that people are talking about as if they are untouchable.
Oh, they're not untouchable, no way.
Because of the pace that they play at and just the sheer quality that exists across the board. And it's other, as I say, what did Wade say? Another planet or something. the scorelines were fairly similar, and yet Australia were better. So England, despite not apparently appearing to be able to play at that same pace with that same flair, are still scoring a similar number of points. And I think that's something to be really confident about.
Oh, I am, and this message is lost sometimes because of who we are, because of what we say, what we stick by. But I'm not worried. I'm worried. Yes, of course the All Blacks can win. The All Blacks are one of the greatest sporting teams on the planet. Of course they can win, but so can we. It's not. I'm not going into this thinking. I truly believe the best team on the. I know this sounds ridiculous, saying the best team on the day will win, but actually it's not ridiculous, because often you can go to a match where, the team who plays the best for them will win. Often you can go into a match where there's a team who play out their skin, but they still lose because they're against a team that are so much better than them. I don't see it like this. I think these are two very evenly matched teams. Why? We said we're not going to talk about this game, but I think the best on the day will go. But let's move it back, because you look at the New Zealand-Ireland match, which is something we are going to talk about. If New Zealand play like that, it will be very difficult for us to win. I don't believe they haven't. That's not how they naturally play. That was one hell of a performance by the All Blacks. Take nothing away from that. But that's not how they play week in, week out. Let's have a level of realism to it. And you can argue the same can be said for how England played against Australia. But the chances are it's not going to be a game where two teams are playing like that. Which team turns up the most on the day? I think it's the team that will walk away. Ireland, see...
So, Dan, do you think the team that scores the most points will win?
No, never. They won't do it that way. What they'll do is they'll get a dodgy referee. But I don't think I've explained that well. But I'm just saying that it's a lot more evenly matched than I think a lot of people think. Ireland, I don't see a scenario where Ireland would have beaten the All Blacks. I never went into that game realistically believing Ireland could have beaten them.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because, Ireland had won 2 out of the last 3 meetings. And in theory, a much the same team. And they just didn't show up, did they? They didn't seem to really want it.
They haven't all year.
No, that's true. They peaked in 2018 when everyone was talking about how England had peaked in 2017. And as it turns out, England peaked in 2017 just to give themselves a little benchmark of where they needed to be getting back towards. Then they took some time to just, consider some things, try some things, and then they peaked again in time for right now.
Yes,
exactly. Masterful from Mr. Jones.
Time for right now. Right.
Well, look, so the first 2 quarterfinals, the better teams won comfortably. There were no question marks over the results. It was what it was.
Well, let's go through 3 of the finals then and save the main one to last or the closest one to last. So Japan, South Africa. Brave effort from the Japanese. South Africa too strong. I think powerful.
They played each other 2 weeks before the World Cup in a warm-up game, and I think South Africa thumped them by about 40 points. Japan were a different level, even just a few weeks later. Although the scoreline 26-3 shows a pretty convincing win from South Africa, it took them a while, but you kind of saw that moment. In the second half, early in the second half, where South Africa seemed to just have worked it out. And what Japan did brilliantly was they kind of dictated how South Africa were going to play. And it was like a trap that they set, and South Africa fell straight into it. And South Africa tried to compete with them like for like, and it just wasn't happening. And, what was the score? It was 3-5 for about 38 minutes or something. It was... I genuinely think this is another example where the scoreline doesn't do justice to the losing team, because they were really in this, but 80 minutes against a top team like South Africa, a semi-final with so much on the line. I think credit to them for getting as far as they did. They're definitely a team to keep watching, and they shouldn't be described as a tier 2 nation. Anymore. In fact, I believe there's already talks in place about getting them into the championship, and rightly so, because I think they would have given Australia a run for their money. They did beat Ireland. I think
they beat Argentina.
I think they beat Wales and France. I actually South Africa, New Zealand, and England are the two that are the three that would be a major problem for them. Well, think about it. Wales don't do well against very attacking teams, quick, pacey attacking teams. They like to slow everything down and kind of make it a sort of about turn defence into offence. And look what happened in their game at the beginning.
My God, yeah, they're doing that. Yeah, as it turned out, South Africa just too powerful. So yeah, let's move on to that. I'll tell you what, it was a hell of a game.
Talk about the better team losing.
Yeah, France. I've never known a team to self-destruct as much as the French did. I mean, you're used to the French. You're like, French, they're just a bit crazy, those Frenchies.
Which team will turn up? The team that self-destructs.
Yeah, exactly. They literally couldn't have screwed up more. I mean, that red card was stupid. And yes, a moment of madness, I guess people have it. It was stupid they were in that position. Well, I can't believe some of the decisions that were made by the French.
I mean, we as a pod, but you in particular, are a massive fan of take the points whenever they're on offer, and particularly in a knockout game, and it makes sense. The fact is they didn't. They decided they wanted more. And actually, do you know what? Fair enough, because you scored, they actually went through. They went through, they scored a try at that point. It got ignored because the whistle went just after he broke through the gap and touched the ball down for the penalty, which initially was for a high tackle, and obviously was then a red card for the elbow. That game was lost. People will say, well, it's because he got a red card that the game was lost. Actually, no, the game was lost because he committed a foul in that moment as his teammate. It wasn't like he was in defence. As his teammate was scoring a try, he committed a foul that meant that try wouldn't count. Made worse by the fact that he committed such a bad foul that he ended up going off the pitch. And as it turns out, he's now retired from rugby, aged 28.
Yeah, allegedly, and I don't think the guy should be villainized too much. He made a horrific mistake. It was a horrific mistake, but it happens. Allegedly, he was always meant to retire from rugby, from international rugby.
Really, at 28?
Allegedly, so that's what they said in the article. I mean, who knows? But the French, even ignoring that, I mean, they missed a couple of really easy kicks early on. Sometimes you don't have your boots on, but I do feel I'm glad the French came out to play, but the French took Wales apart. I mean,
that's what I mean. As soon as a team, it's the first time Wales have faced a team that really went for them. And actually, it happened against Australia, but not until the second half, and too little, too late.
Yeah.
And as soon as Australia started to actually up their game and start playing, Wales looked like they were in trouble, and they were. Fortunately, there wasn't enough time left on the clock. But France came out. They came out fast, they came out hard, and Wales didn't know what to do, and they were getting outplayed. Then, of course, the incident has happened, and suddenly the game's too close. And when it becomes an arm wrestle, that's one of the areas where Wales, that's one of their strengths.
Yeah.
Of the try, what did you think?
What, the Moriarty try?
Was it a forward pass? Or, the rip, did it go forward? Because that's what everyone is now saying, that it went forward and therefore shouldn't have been given.
I was surprised it was given.
Because let's not forget, that also...
I don't think it was a ridiculous decision. Yeah, I don't think it was a ridiculous decision, but I was surprised it was given. It wasn't like when they tried to, when that Kiwi guy's like, there's nothing obvious forward. What the hell are you on about? It was nothing like that, but it was still, I thought it was forward, but I didn't think it was disgraceful, but it was not given.
I mean, Wales are very, very lucky.
Yes, they are very lucky boys, Wales, very lucky.
Then the question is...
And France, very naughty boys.
Do they... You're being weird. Do Wales... all the sort of chat online...
I think Wales will beat South Africa.
Really?
Yeah.
From where, how, and with what?
I think they'll bore them. I think South Africa are a better team. after about 10 minutes, the South Africans will be like, I am so bored right now. Let's just chill out. They'll be like, they're so easy to beat. It'll be like the tortoise versus hare scenario.
You genuinely think Wales will win?
I actually do. I don't know why. I think South Africa are a better team.
I think South Africa win by 40. Not by, I think they put 40 points on them.
Mate, equally, I can see that happening. I think Wales... I don't know why. I just got a feeling Wales might beat them.
I don't see how Wales beat them.
And that kind of makes sense more because from what we're seeing. But
I think South Africa come out like even against Japan. Like this is again credit to Japan. Like let's not take away the fact that South Africa really had to play at pace, and it was tough physical rugby, but it was also it was non-stop.
Yeah.
The amount of pressure on both sides whenever the opposition had the ball in hand and were attacking, and that's what Wales don't cope with.
Well, it will be. I think that will be I think we've got two great semi-finals coming up. I'll tell you why I'm gutted for French didn't beat Wales. Is I had Coops here and we had a tenner on it, and I backed France. That's why I'm gutted. I don't really care who won that game, but I actually think. I don't know why I think Wales will beat South Africa, but I can't believe Wales beat France. But that's
if things go to plan, who would you rather play in the final, Wales or South Africa?
Oh, I'd rather play Wales.
I mean, I would, because I think they're the weaker of the two sides.
Yeah.
Wales versus South Africa. Part of me would quite like, if England make the final, to play and hopefully beat South Africa so that we can say not only did we win the World Cup, but we did Australia, New Zealand and South Africa en route.
And Argentina.
And Argentina, that doesn't really count, but
all the championship teams. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
That would be quite nice. And also, I'm not sure I could handle watching England against Wales in a World Cup final.
Oh my God, that would literally oh my God, that's not even.
As James Haskell said, if Wales won the World Cup, that's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of rugby because they would never shut up about it.
Yeah, I am.
You'd be in a business meeting. I
would go into mourning for a few years. I would only ever wear black with a veil over my face for years. Till the next World Cup.
He suggested we'd have to create a new sport so that they can have their World Cup, but no one would be playing rugby union anymore.
It's not the worst shout.
Create a version of rugby they haven't won the World Cup in and then start again.
Yeah, it's not a worst shout. But off the back of that game, something you mentioned to me, and we said we are going to bring up in this episode, give me your take on the Jaco Piper incident with the Welsh fans.
Well, first of all, can we stop using the word incident? In my opinion, it's ridiculous that he's being villainised for it. The game was over.
Thank you.
It was the most obvious red card possibly in the history of rugby.
Yes.
So what exactly is it that people think he's doing wrong? Like, he's there going, yeah, the guy was an idiot. He possibly lost his team a World Cup quarter-final because of that thing he did with his elbow. Now let's have a picture of us holding up our elbow. Like, in no way to me does that suggest that he somehow favours Wales. He happened to bump into some Welsh fans. They were having a few beers. They wanted to get a photo with him. They decided this would be amusing. And he's like, yeah, fair enough, I'll play along. I don't think it's a big deal at all. And I think to be making a song and dance about it is crazy.
I completely agree. So it's not like he's gone and shit in a playground or something. You're exactly right.
Had the action that they'd done for the photo, or they'd done a little video or GIF or something, been throwing a forward pass, that would be very different because it was a contentious decision. But the elbow in the face wasn't contentious. Like there isn't a person on the planet that isn't like, yep, that's a red card.
Yeah, it was, and to make it such a big deal is ridiculous. If World Rugby is saying you're not involved, if they're taking them aside and say, look, we're not going to involve you just because we don't want to take anything away from a rugby, then okay, fine. If they're like, we're not involving you because you did a stupid thing, it's like, oh, get over yourselves, grow up.
Yeah,
it's a picture with some fans, and they were probably like, oh, please, could you do a bit of banter?
I bet the World Rugby wouldn't have cared if it was Nigel Owens.
No, probably not. It's just I mean, to me, it is ridiculous. And actually, I think that sort of takes away a bit about what rugby is post-match. Like post-match, you should be able to have exactly.
Well,
I mean,
it's
that's
about
what you.
well, it's about kind of forget about what happened on the pitch. The game's over. The full-time whistle's gone. Now everyone's friends again. So it really shouldn't be turned into a big deal.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because when you said to me before, when you're like, look, we need to talk about that, I was like, oh God, he's going to be on the. And genuinely, we hadn't discussed what our viewpoint is, because a lot of the time when Paul Y or Paulie Boy said on the thing, like, you don't discuss it. One of the reasons we purposely say to each other is, let's not. There are obviously there's stuff we chat about because we're still two massive rugby fans and we're still two good mates, but
I think he's all right.
There are like a lot. Yeah, we've learned to tolerate each other over the years, but it's that incident, and we specifically don't talk about things because we want it to be quite raw when we chat about it. And I was worried about what you were coming in saying. I was like, no, Ackers is better than that. He's not going to be a bell end about it. No, he's better than that. So well done. You proved me right.
I'm glad to hear it.
Congratulations, mate. Congratulations.
It means a lot to me to have such.
Yeah, I bet. You'll go back afterwards. You'll go to your wife. Luce, guess what Dan said? But no, it was a non-incident. It is a bit pathetic. But equally, if World Rugby, if it is just a case of let's not take away from these two games, then fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I get that. I don't think that there weren't any other real major incidents.
No, I don't think so.
All in all, good quarterfinals weekend.
Yes, great quarterfinal weekend. I enjoyed it. Navidi now is a real shame for Wales.
Yeah, he's in the squad, isn't he?
Yeah, they've got a replacement in Moriarty, who's a hell of a player. So,
well, yeah, and of course,
that's a shame.
It will do them good to have an English player in their World Cup squad, because of course Moriarty did play England under 18s and under 20.
Yeah, I mean his old man played for Wales, but he's English.
I think the rule should count for the unders as well.
It will help them get through. But mate, semi-finals, two cracking semi-finals actually.
Well, for me, it's obviously England New Zealand is massive. It's a game that doesn't happen very often. It's a game that the last time they played, there was a point between them, and it could genuinely have gone either way. A look back would suggest that England were robbed, and therefore they've got a little making up to do. Historically in World Cups, England haven't fared all that well against New Zealand, but this is a very different looking England side to 10 years ago, which was I think the last time we met them in the 99 World Cup where they thumped us.
Was that the last time? They didn't thump us in 99, did they? Well, 95 they destroyed us.
So 99 we lost 16-30. 95 was when we met them in the semi-finals.
Jonas scored 4 tries.
29-45.
Yeah.
And 91 was the other time, 12-18. New Zealand winning all three of them. Oh. But it's about time we turn that around.
Yes, it is.
And I think this is the team to do it. This is the team to do it. They've come very close in the past, and I think they are the team to offer New Zealand the biggest threat in this World Cup as things currently stand. So I wouldn't read too much into what New Zealand have done against other teams. I genuinely don't think you look at a lot of the really good stuff that New Zealand have done in terms of kind of their flair and sending the ball out wide and scoring amazing tries and stuff. Defensively, the teams haven't been particularly aggressive, and I think England are going to offer something a little different there. It's going to be an absolute cracker, and I suspect I should be hiding behind my hands for huge portions of the game. But
I'm nervous. I'm nervous already.
Yeah, it's a nervous confidence that I possess.
Yes. Yeah.
Apart from anything else, we can't change our minds now. We've made it pretty clear what we think about this England team and where we think they're going to go, and I have faith in them. I think the most important thing here, Dan, and you mentioned at the beginning, is that there's absolutely no question that England have the ability to beat New Zealand and go all the way. And it'll be very interesting to see how it pans out. Eddie's obviously been doing what Eddie does in the media, trying to at least add a bit of pressure to them. He's of course said that the All Blacks are expected to beat England. They have the added pressure of that. They have the added pressure of going for a new record of the first team to go back to back to back. Although that didn't seem to faze them when they were the first team to go back to back 4 years ago. So it's just him playing games, and I mean he said that someone was filming them in training, and he thinks it could have been one of the Kiwis. Someone from the All Blacks camp was trying to find out what they were up to in training.
But equally, he then said in the last rep, it might have been a Japanese fan.
Yeah, so he's playing games.
He's trying to mess with them.
Yeah, of course he is. He's playing games.
Well done, Eddie.
Why not? That's what these are all about.
Yeah.
So obviously, the non-English people and non-Kiwis are obviously all saying that Eddie Jones is every name under the sun and complaining about it. But who cares? Like it's a bit of banter. This is a guy who knows how to generate upsets. He was the head coach for Australia when Australia met England in the 2003 final. But let's not forget that to get there was the upset of beating New Zealand in the semis when they were the underdog.
Yeah.
So he knows, he has experience of beating New Zealand against the odds. So, as far as I'm concerned, we got the right man at the helm to make this happen. And I believe we can do this. Do you want to go as far? Well, actually, no, because we want to cover this in more depth once we've got a squad. So we'll come back. We'll look at this game a little bit more. Anything else you want to add for the Wales South Africa? I mean, you seem to think this is going to be a much closer fought contest than I do. To me, South Africa are already in the final.
No, nothing else I want to add to that game. I'm looking forward to watching it. But the truth is, I don't care. I genuinely believe we'll beat the All Blacks, and I don't care who wins the other game.
If Wales beat South Africa, I think the final ends up being a record win.
Wow, yeah, nice.
For either England or New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, for England.
In a final as opposed to against Wales.
Yes, yeah, sure.
That's what I'm.
I like it.
Going with. Well, that obviously there were only 4 games. They were huge. They were quarterfinals. England are through. They're in the semis. New Zealand are through. They're in the semis to face England. You've got Wales and South Africa, the other semi-final. This World Cup just continues to get more and more exciting. And we will be back on Thursday once the teams have been announced to discuss whatever it is that Eddie's gone with. No doubt something will require discussion. Jack Noel is fit, so we might see him. Not a bad thing, but who loses out as a result? What's he going to do in the centres? Is he going to make changes at fullback? What's happening with the 10-12 channel? So, lots of questions that need answering. They will be answered on Thursday when we hear from Eddie. But guys, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, if you want to get in touch, email us, englandrugbypod@gmail.com. Get in touch on social media, predominantly Twitter, at englandrugbypod. And if you get the opportunity, head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. We will keep sharing your comments and we will keep discussing things. There isn't long to go now. 2 more games. Come on, England. World Cup champions 2019, please.
What a great way to finish.
Indeed. We'll catch you guys on Thursday.